Hello guys, thank you for checking out the new episode of the Devlog and a happy new year to all of you. If you've been following the Devlog, then you know that I was already about 5 months into development with Unity, and then for various reasons I decided to start over and try to develop the game in Unreal about 3 months ago. And I'm super proud and happy to tell you today that we are now at the exact same stage of development where we left off with Unity. In the last month, I rebuilt and implemented the dialogue and interaction system. If you are interested in how this system is structured, take a look at the first half of the 3rd episode of the Devlog, because the logic behind it has actually remained the same as in the Unity project back then. Let me quickly show you how I can set up a simple interaction in a scene. You already know this actor that we have been using for development for quite a while now. Just like every other character in a scene, it holds a reference to a data asset called character data. Only 2 variables are defined here at the moment, the name and the color of the font to be assigned to the character. So this guy is called Colin, and we can use his name in the interaction system to perform all kinds of actions with this character. Now for example, I want Colin to say something when I click on this sign here. First I define a hotspot area, and here I can define some more details for this hotspot. Let's call it signpost. And let's write helpful signpost in the display string. This is a text that is displayed above the cursor when we hover over a hotspot. And you can see 2 arrays here, main interaction stack and secondary interaction stack. So a variety of interactions can be defined on a hotspot. However, we will only deal with one for now. To create a new interaction, I briefly give this one a name and then click on Create Main Interaction. Now a function creates a new interaction data asset and saves it in my files. A double click on it now lets us define what should happen when the interaction is executed in the game. Let's ignore all these variables for now and just look at the array at the bottom here. This is the operation stack. In other words, all the single actions that are to be executed one after the other as soon as this whole interaction is executed. Let's quickly add a new operation, and here we can now find all the options that we already know from episode 3. Whether it's a simple dialogue line, dialogue choices, execute animation, edit inventory, anything can be defined here. But for now we just want to have a simple dialogue line. So under performer we define the character that is to carry out the operation. His name was Colin, and then under main text let's simply write the sign says left path. And while we're at it anyway, let's create a second line right away. We don't need to fill in the performer again, because the dialogue system remembers the last performer. And in main text, let's now write wow, helpful for the second line. Let's test the scene. I click on the sign says left path, wow, helpful. Cool, this works. But it looks weird because Colin looks in the wrong direction. We want him to move towards the signpost first. For this purpose, I created a simple blueprint called POI, which defines a position in a level and a desired direction to look at if we want a character to do so. We want Colin to walk to this position and turn in this direction before he reads the sign. Let's name this POI signpost POI, and in the interactions we find a variable called walk to POI first. Here we write signpost POI and we add a plus sign right after it. The plus sign tells the system to turn the character into the direction that we had defined on the POI. Without the plus sign, Colin would only walk to this position without turning in the end. And now if we test the scene, we can see that Colin walks to the sign first, and then the dialogue lines are triggered. However, you can imagine that creating long dialogues or generally more complex interactions in this way could be a bit cumbersome. Therefore, this array does not necessarily have to be used. Directly above it we find a slot for a data table. The functionality is exactly the same, but data tables are a little easier to create, edit and read, and above all they can be easily imported or exported via CSV or JSON files. This allows me to create more complex dialogues in external editors and import them very easily. I have really only shown you the basic functionality of the interaction system. Under the hood, the system already reacts to many factors. For example, you can easily define that dialogue lines are only displayed if certain conditions are met, like only if you have a certain item in your inventory or have visited a certain location. The system also recognizes dialogue choices automatically, and scene changes are also already possible with it. This interaction system is the heart of all the game mechanics of my game, and I can hardly wait to make a real game scene with it. But before that, a few final things have to be tackled, like saving and loading, menus and audio for example. But after that, we can finally start creating some real game content, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think 2024 will be a great year for a Pretty Broken adventure. Please don't forget to wishlist the game on Steam, and see you next month everybody. Thank you.